Thank you for joining us. We're Bly and Holly and we live aboard 34 Vampires as continuous cruisers. Join us as we travel the canals of the UK through cities, towns and beautiful countryside. From peaceful mornings on the water to navigating busy locks, we share it all. Our adventures, the occasional mishaps, the beautiful scenery, our daily life and the wonderful wildlife around us. Hi everyone, it's Holly here at 34 Vampires, and in this vlog we're going to be tackling the Marple flight. We've had problems with a diesel leak, so we've had to kind of bodge that for a while to stop the leak so that we can get through the locks, as we had to have an overstay due to illness. And then of course the flight was locked as well, so we're just making sure that we can get through with the the diesel leak. And then we'll sort it once we get out the other side. And in this vlog also we'll also be going over the beautiful Marple Aqueduct, squeezing through some very tight gaps and locks, and also of course, as always with the locks, all the water will be pouring down in front of us, so hopefully we won't get any inside the bow, and we'll just see how we go and if we get through the whole flight as well on the day. Water levels have been pretty low, so some of the CRT volunteers will be out checking that the pounds are okay, checking there's enough water to get into the locks. So we're not even completely sure if we're going to get through all in one day, so we're setting off anyway. We know there's a bit of a queue ahead of us, so it's time to get going. Our plan today is to try and get on to the Macclesfield. It's time to leave our beautiful mooring. It's 7:45 in the morning and we're heading up towards the locks as we're expecting a queue to be up there. So just taking one last look at the beautiful area that we've been staying in, as it feels like we've been here for absolutely ages. We're just coming up to the first bridge, as you can see around the corner, and after we go through that we'll be going into the pound. There were 3 boats there last night, so they'll be ahead of us to go through the locks, and because the locks open at 8 o'clock, I believe that's when the CRT volunteers get there. And then as far as we know, there are no boats behind us at the moment, but I'm anticipating a bit of a queue because the last week it was meant to be open at 8 o'clock in the morning on the Tuesday, but by 9:15 they'd already had to shut the flight again due to the low water levels. I've had a really bad blister on my foot for weeks that's really slow to heal. Had to go to an NHS walk-in centre after that, had to go to the doctors days later to get it sorted. It's been going on about 3.5 weeks or something ridiculous, which is having an effect on how I'm walking. So it's really good that the CRT volunteers are out, because there are 16 locks in the flight. I don't know whether the volunteers are all the way up or whether we'll actually have to do some of it ourselves as well, but certainly sort of all the walking about and everything I could do without. And yeah, we just have to see how the day goes, because as you know, when there's the low water levels and other issues going on like the queues and everything like that, nothing always necessarily goes to plan. So it's just a case of keeping calm, sort of like taking the day as it comes and hoping that we get all the way through. So it seems that there are actually 4 boats waiting here, so I'm not sure if one of them sort of snuck up last night and we didn't hear it. And so we're going to moor in behind this last one, and we're going to have to wait for the others to go through once the volunteers get here. So we're moor up, but then what we're probably going to have to do is each time a boat goes through is actually keep pulling the boat up until we get closer to the lock and it's our turn to go through, so it'll probably take a little bit of time. You may remember in a previous vlog that I talked about when I saw 6 mandarin females, that I knew they were all females because none of them had the red beaks, and that the males would shed their plumage, their sort of really pretty coloured plumage, to look like females in the sort of like mating, well, not mating season, more nesting season, in order to be more camouflaged. And as you can see here, I'm not sure if you can see clear enough if you're on a smaller device, but one of the mandarins here actually has a red beak, and that's the male.
There's a drake there.
At long last, it's our turn to go through the locks. We've been waiting here for quite a while, and obviously we don't know how many boats are actually coming the opposite way through the flight as well, so that could potentially cause hold-ups as well. It actually took us 2.5 hours by the time we queued and everything in order to be able to go through the first 2 locks and out the other side of them. And by then, bearing in mind we're at the bottom of the flight where the water runs down to, we were already having water problems to do with the low water levels in the pounds. And so some of the boats behind us, because by now there had been 5 queuing behind us as well, were actually having to wait until the water levels rose, with water coming down the flight in order to lift those levels in the pound.
In the morning, I wake up feeling no pain. Long stretches, I get to remember it. Then I see my bed is empty on one side. Back in the sheet, only place I can hide. In the morning, I'm wondering how I'm gonna get through the night. Sick and weary, and only your love gonna make.
CRT volunteers up until now were only at locks 1 and 2, and so from here we had to do a few ourselves. So Bloy, because they were single locks as well, it made it a little bit easier. He was able to climb out and give me a hand with them, because some of them can be pretty tough going, and again, because my foot, you know, doing the walking and everything was something I was trying not to do much of today.
Magnolia Town was humming, smoke lay on the
You might have remembered that I mentioned the PTFE, sorry I'm just reading off the thing because we bought some yesterday, the PTFE tape that we used to put around the bleed screw on the diesel leak that we had. That was kindly loaned to us by Richard. We borrowed some tape off of him, and that enabled us to seal up the screw a little bit to get it tighter so that we didn't get the leak going through the lock. And as it happened, Richard was walking into Marple, and he had to walk down the flight lock in order to get there, so he very kindly said to us that you know, lend us your windlass and I'll go up and do them up until lock 10 for you. So he did 5 of the locks for us, which kind of really made things easier for us. Exceptionally kind of him to help out like that. You can see here how low this overflow is. Normally the water would absolutely be pouring over that and going through the gaps and down the side into a bywash into the next lock. And as you can see on the wall as well, in some places along the canal through the pounds, there was actually about a foot drop in water level, and so that was what was causing boats a problem further back in some of the pounds where they were getting grounded and having to wait for the water to come down.
All the girls with pretty mouths, they always walk your way. They follow you in cars and bars and even on airplanes. I'm special, yeah, I'm special, 'cause they just don't got, oh, they just don't got what I've got. I'm someone you can take home to meet your mom and pa, and your trashy little cupcake dressed in polka dots. So be a loudmouth Yankee lady, baby, you're just the cowboy that I'm looking for. It's gonna take time to get there. It's gonna take some time, I wanna make it fast. It's gonna take time to get there. It's gonna take some time, you wanna make it last.
You can see here as well how unfazed all of the wildlife is at the side of the pounds, and I guess that's because people are using it as such a walk route, because from the Aqueduct up into the town you can walk all up along the side of the lock flight. And as you can see here as well, we're coming up to the female mandarin ducks, and you can see that these are all females. These are the ones that I'd seen about a week or two previously, and all of these have got the brown beaks, not the red beaks. So again, this tells us that these are the females. There were actually 6 there when I saw them before. Limping along, I've got to go through on the right hand side. As you can see, a little tunnel on the right hand side. I've got to go and walk through there, and you can see underneath that bridge there is the lock. But I need to go and find out what's going on, to see if there's another boat coming down, because there is one behind us.
Strong, crazy beds on me. Back mid-scroll, I'm getting arcane. Walking the world, don't know why.
As you can see, we've been getting through the locks pretty well, and at lock 13 luckily the CRT volunteers were on at the other end, so that was really good. But as you can see as well, we've also got a boat ahead with regards to going through the next lock, so there's going to be a bit of jiggery pokery there obviously to get around that side. But as the day's gone on, we've really sort of gone through an awful lot faster than we thought, because the pounds were sort of drained a little bit, the ones behind us. It meant that the other boats sort of held back, so we weren't kind of in such a rush to go through, although we did go through quite quickly in saying that. But also as well, there weren't as many boats coming the opposite way, so we didn't sort of like have to pull over and allow for boats to come down, so that saved us a lot of time. Because at the beginning of the day I was really thinking, you know, that we might not make the whole lock flight. We might not be able to get through, and I didn't know if that meant that we would then have to stay in a pound overnight, or whether they would let us carry on until the end, because we were on restricted times. So at this specific week, and I think it was for the week after as well, the locks were only open on a Tuesday, Thursday I think it was, and a Saturday from 8 AM till 1 PM, and then closed at 4 o'clock. So I'm guessing that meant sort of like with those times that the last one could sort of go through at 3 o'clock. And so because of that, it was a case of, you know, are we going to sort of like get stuck in a pound? Do they let you stay in a pound overnight? I know one of the guides that we looked in and read up, it said about the Marple flight pounds can quite easily empty, or at least get low, so that was a bit of a worry. But as you can see, we actually went through really well, and I think it was only something like 20 past 1, 20 past 2 that we ended up getting to the end of the flight in the end. I've got to give a good shout out here as well to the Lockies that were on both ends of the locks as well, because I don't know if all of you know, but these are actually volunteers that choose to do this in their spare time. So they were sort of like there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They don't have to do it. And although it looks quite overcast as well, sort of come sort of about 11, 12 o'clock, it was getting quite humid as well, so it was really hot. And I actually said to one of them, you know, he must have been absolutely knackered, and he said he really was. And you know, it's a really long day for them, because obviously then by the time we finish the flight, we're going to be off and away, and they're still there doing the locks for all of the people that were behind us. And when we left, that was 5 boats, so there could well have been more after that as well. So you know, it's always really important to say thanks to these guys, you know, and tell them that you really appreciate them, because they don't have to be there.
I did it all, I played pretend, I moved the mountains to be your friend. I wanna know if it mattered. I would have gone to war for you, I would have bent the earth in two just to get to our ever after. Something about this has changed, I wanna feel you close again. Don't let go, no, I don't want this to end. Whoa. Remember the
So at last we're at lock 15, so we've only got one more to go, so it looks like we're going to get through the flight today. But yeah, it's been quite a stressful day, sort of like we were wondering if we were going to get stuck in pounds with the low water levels because the boat behind us did, and sort of like various different things. It's, you know, what with the humidity and everything as well, it was just like a massive day. You know, we did the Ashton, was it the Ashton? Yeah, the Ashton 18 flight we did on our own. And went through that absolutely fine, but obviously when you've got the additional problems with the restricted times, with the, because of course then you've got the boats queuing, you've got the sort of all the problems that go with that, and Lockies, and are they going to be there to help, are they not going to be there to help, you know, it's all sort of like makes for quite a stressful day. But as I said sort of like in some text earlier, you know, Bloy's the calm one, I'm the flapper, and he was like, yeah, don't worry about it, you know, we'll get through today. But yeah, we did, thank goodness. And as you can see here, the end is in sight, because that tunnel just over the lock on the right hand side is actually the tunnel, or rather the bridge that takes you onto the Macclesfield.
As long as it's not your bottom. You're tight this side, but okay.
Certainly one of the things that we noticed whilst we were on the Peak Forest is how many narrow gaps there were to go through, not just the locks, but also these narrow little passages, and so many of the bridges were really narrow to go underneath as well. Sometimes we had just literally sort of like 2 inches each side of the boat. So yeah, incredibly tight gaps. But Bloy tells me that once we get on the Macclesfield, apparently I'm having some driving practice, because I've not done a huge amount of it. And it's mostly been in straight lines. He did dart off for a wee one time, and whilst that happened I nearly put us head first in some reeds, because what I tend to find sometimes is my mind goes a little bit blank sometimes whilst I'm doing it, and I forget which way to put the tiller. So we're going to sort of like get onto the Macclesfield, find a quiet spot so that I can practice with some manoeuvring, also sort of like the forwards and backwards and everything, in order to help me get used to be able to go in the locks as well, so that Bloy will be able to go up and do the locks for us whilst I stay on the boat. So we're now coming into the Marple services. So this is where we're going to stay for 2 nights. It's only a 48-hour mooring, so we'll be staying here for 2 nights, getting the washing done, washing the boat, and sort of like getting all our food in and everything, so that we're all prepared, ready to go onto the Macclesfield, because the next water point is also a little bit way along. And so because we don't sort of move sort of incredibly fast, as it were, we do tend to, when we can, stay for 2 weeks. And so it's very much the case of we'll probably be darting back here with the car in order to get water quite often. The amount of times that we've been here, because we were stuck in Marple for so long due to illness and also due to the lock flight closure, yeah, the amount of times that we've just been here is mad. It's sort of like starting to feel like second home, keep coming in here to get water all the time. But hopefully now we'll be going on to the Macclesfield. Well, we are on the Macclesfield, but going on from here, and then we consider ourselves sort of properly on the Macclesfield once we go under that bridge, and then at least the water point will be behind us rather than in front of us, and we're on our way, and we're on yet another canal. So thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, because subscribing doesn't cost you anything but obviously helps us out. And I hope you look forward to the next one that we'll be doing, which will be on the Macclesfield, so there'll also be the start of a new playlist as well. So in the meantime, take care, and hopefully catch up with you next week.